Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. I'd like to make a motion in a second to reconvene. I'll pretend I'm your teacher. Come on, guys. Okay, I'd like to call for a motion and a second to reconvene public meeting. May I have a motion? Motion. I have a second. Second. All in favor? Okay, Jesse, would you mind reading the Pledge of Allegiance this evening?
Everyone, please stand and join me in the pledge.
And a moment of silence for all of our military around the world. Will the district clerk please call the roll?
We have Mr. Murphy,
Present.
Mrs. Kennedy,
Present.
Mr. Kolakifar.
Present.
We have Mrs. Augulus joining us via Zoom. Mrs. Napolitano-Furno,
Present.
Mrs. Hutchinson,
Present.
Mr. Stefanetta,
Present.
Mr. Hauser,
Present.
and Mrs. Poppy. Present. And myself, Ms. Kemp, the district clerk.
I call for a motion and a second to accept the minutes of the March 22nd, 2022 Board of Ed meeting. Have a motion? Motion. Second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. All right, motion so carried. Okay, so now it's time for student recognition. Oh, we're not having that tonight. None of this. I'm not sure. Okay, moving on to discussion items. Budget presentation by Mr. Hauser.
Good evening. Thank you, Jesse. This is going to be a budget presentation of our proposed revenues and expenditures. It is the third draft of the budget. Next slide, please. And I know this may be difficult for people to see in the audience. There's a lot of information, and as we move forward, the numbers will be even more difficult to see. I just want everyone to know that this entire presentation of the PowerPoint should be up on the district website by tomorrow afternoon. What's up on the screen right now is a calendar of the budget process. We started back in January, and now we're obviously into April. There's a line that I crossed out, which is the state legislative budget, which is supposed to provide us with our final school aid number. You may have heard through the news outlets that the state legislature, the Assembly and the Senate are still debating the final budget for the state. That budget technically was due March 31st. The state starts its fiscal year on April 1st, so I believe there was some type of an emergency resolution that was passed just to fund the state for at least a week. But as all of the school districts right now, we're all waiting for the state to issue the final school aid number. So until we get that, our budget is not going to be 100% complete. I just want to remind everyone that tentatively right now we're scheduled to adopt the final budget next Tuesday on April 12th. And then a month thereafter on May 10th is the public hearing for the budget. And then 7 days later on May 17th is the actual school budget vote as well as the school board election vote. Next slide, please. Just a few highlights about the budget right now. So this tentative proposed budget maintains all academic, athletic, and extracurricular programs and services in the school. The budget is New York State tax cap compliant, and the actual proposed tax levy is below what's called the allowable levy. So both the levy, which is the amount of money we will be charging the residential and the commercial tax base, is less than 2%, and the actual spending increase is less than 2% as well. Next slide, please. This particular slide is a summary page of the total expenditure. Like I said before, I know it's difficult to see it out in the audience there, but the total budget right now, the proposed budget is $207,420,876, which is about $3,839,169 more than the current school year budget, which equates to an increase of about 1.89%. Since we presented the first budget draft, we have been able to come up with savings to the tune of about $3.8 million. A little further down, about midway, is the amount to be raised for taxes to pay for this budget. That's going to be an increase of about $2.6 million or 1.99%. So on average, and without getting too specific about individual homeowners and their real estate tax bills as they relate to the school taxes, we are projecting the school tax portion of real estate tax bills to go up approximately 1.99%. Next slide, please. Here, we broke the budget down a little more into 5 or 6 categories, just to give everyone an idea of which components of the budget make up the largest share of the budget. And nothing new here. Typically, instructional expenses are more than half of the budget. So just a little bit more information for people to see. Next slide, please. The next 2 slides are a little more of a summary by grouping or by category in the budget. And what we did here is we sorted every category from the highest budget increase, which at the top of this page happens to be hospital, medical, and dental insurance. We're expecting that to go up approximately 14.41%, which is the equivalent of about a $4,224,000 increase. And then as you work your way down this page, the increases are in descending order all the way. Next slide, please. Till you get to the next page, which you will see the budget increases are negative. So those are account codes where we were able to decrease the proposed expenditures. Next slide, please. The next, I believe, 10 pages are very detailed, line-by-line budget expenditures here. So we've done this. This will be the 3rd time now. The other 2 presentations are on the district website, and as I mentioned, this one will be 2. So, like I said, tomorrow afternoon, this will be up on the website for anybody to see, but this is a very, very detailed, very transparent information. But if anyone has any questions about particular lines, if you want, you can direct them to me. can we just flip, I think it's 10 slides till we get to the questions and answers section. Okay, does anyone on the board have any questions, comments, or concerns, or suggestions they'd like to bring up?
Can you let us know how were you able to get the budget down? That's a good number, the 1.99. How were you able to do that? I was looking to try to see what the difference was from the last time we met. I can't.
Good question, Jackie. Jesse, can you go back to the beginning of the presentation, please? Right there. Oh, that slide. Right there. So, Jackie, you should have this in front of you. It's a bigger page. Yep. If you go over to a column, it's about 3/4 of the way to the right. It's called first draft versus the third draft change. Okay. I listed all different categories where items have changed since the first draft to make up what's the equivalent of that $3 million number. So we could spend a lot of time right now going through each code if you want.
No, what had to be, where were we able to cut in order to do that?
So a few of the, as cabinet and administration, we went through the budget line by line, and we really fine-tuned some of the codes. So if I could just give one example, which is, I believe, last year, the district may have hired a significant number of custodial staff for the COVID, the pandemic. Many of those positions have, through attrition, have been, I'll say, replaced. So instead of having those 12 positions actually built in on top of what we needed, we were able to go through and, for the most part, remove the positions that weren't needed. It doesn't mean that people are being terminated or anything, just, yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. But
I saw how you did it originally. I just wanted to know from 2 weeks ago, how were you able to bring it down even further? That was really, I saw all the numbers that you guys did originally. That was really what I was, where exactly, that's something you can get back to. It's not, I just wanted to see exactly where we were over and we were able to pull from, because when I look at the last budget, we were down to 2 point, I swear, versus what we are now at 1.99. I just wanted to know what you were able to bring down even more.
Yeah, and like I said, we went through this line by line, so I'll just give another example because there's numerous examples of account codes that have changed. Towards the end of the budget, there's 2 lines. One's called retirement incentive, and the other corresponding code is called compensated absences. So for the most part, the original budgeted number was just rolled over from the prior year. We tried our best to take a look at what we actually feel retirements could possibly be 15 months from now, in June of 2023, and we were able to reduce both of those codes. So that's just another example of what we did. You're welcome.
Jackie, on page 2, if you look too, you added cuts on page 2 as well.
Lee, I understood that. It was, the problem that I was having was from the last, it was only from 2 weeks ago. From 2 weeks ago to now, it's gone down more.
I
So
know.
I'm just trying to find out where exactly, because originally when I wanted to add something, you guys told me for $100,000, $200,000, you couldn't do it. But if you were able to bring it down, I want to know where the money came from. If the money, we couldn't bring it down for small class sizes, why are we bringing it down? We're able to bring it down to 1.99.
Yeah.
How much did we actually have to bring it down from the last meeting we had?
I'll have to get you that exact figure.
Yeah, I think that was workman's comp that really brought it down.
You're welcome, Mylan. And just to highlight one thing, this particular slide that's up here in the bottom right-hand corner, at least the last 3 lines of the slide, I gave 3 specific examples. A home that's assessed at $10,000, $30,000, and then a home that's assessed at $50,000. It's very difficult to equate that to fair market value or what someone might either feel their home is worth or what it might be worth in the market today. But even, so I would encourage anyone who wants to try to figure out how much their school taxes are proposed to go up, you may want to take a look at your actual real estate tax bill. That will have the assessed value on there. That can differ, even similar home to similar home, depending upon the different exemptions that a homeowner might have. A veteran's exemption could be one. Star Basic, Star Enhanced could be the other. So I would encourage anyone who's interested to actually get your real estate tax bill, look at what the town assesses your home at. But here, even at the high end, and I'm not saying that this is representative of the highest home, just at the higher end of an example, this proposed budget, a homeowner whose home is assessed at $50,000 would expect to see their real estate tax bill, the school tax portion only, increase about $191 for the year. On the lower end, if someone's home is assessed at $10,000, they would expect to see their school taxes increase about $38. So I gave 3 scenarios here, and hopefully that's helpful to the community. Yes, that particular line, curriculum equipment, has the $100,000 in it. You're welcome.
Okay, Jesse, do you want to talk about the BOCES?
Sure. So on April 27th, it is the Eastern Suffolk BOCES board members and administrative budget vote. And I really just wanted to see if the board was interested in scheduling a brief meeting to vote on both the budget and if you guys want also the BOCES board representatives. It could be a very brief meeting. If the board is interested, I will reach out to you all tomorrow and look to schedule something.
I'll come in, to vote. That's what you're asking.
Yes, it's just if the board wants to meet, it could even, we are still allowable under law, under an executive order to meet virtually too, even if the board wanted to do it that way, since it is just a brief meeting to vote on the BOCES budget and their board if you so choose to.
Well, Brian, you want to come in to vote? BOCES, do you find it necessary? We don't have to do this. It's up to the board if we want to. We don't have to come in.
I don't think it's necessary.
Jackie?
I'm not big on Zoom, but I don't mind for something like that.
Right,
Mylan?
it's just a one.
Mylan?
Okay, yeah, it has to be done on April 27th. It cannot be done any other day.
All right, we still have time to decide if you want to do it. Looks like no one's really interested, but we can bring it back up next meeting. How about that? Maybe I'll change the mind. Okay, Mylan, this is yours, Committee for Rezoning Elementary Schools. Brian, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I think it's a discussion that we have to have moving forward, what goes on with the budget and, if it makes sense. And it's also something not easy to do for a child to go to school, one place and then the next year they're someplace else. So unless it's definitely necessary, I don't think it's something that should be explored. But, Mylan, I agree.
No, I agree with you, Brian. I mean, I wouldn't want my child being in one school for 4 years and then having to move into another school. And the numbers are coming down. One year, one school might have more kids, another year they'll have less kids. So I'm not ready for that conversation yet, but it's up to the board majority. Jackie?
I agree with Mylan. I brought it up a couple of years ago. I know I got pushed back. It was more so for us to look into making class sizes more of across district, to put equal equity across district, as opposed to one elementary school class having 8 children and then one on the other side having 26. So I'm for looking into it and seeing if you do a committee, a community committee can decide, parents that want to be involved, teachers, parents, staff, whomever, community members. It's definitely something to look into.
I know. I think the North will be hurt more than the South because they're the children that are going to have to be splitting up into different schools.
But Lee, you can look at that 2 ways. If my child was going to Cherokee still and was going to be in a classroom of 26 or 27, how fair is it of that?
That doesn't happen. We don't have 26 or 27 in a classroom.
We've had 25, 26 in classes. My son's been in a class of that many. So I'm just going to say it like this. The north side class sizes are always bigger, okay? And I get it because there's 3 schools versus 4 on the south side. I understand that. But at the same token, if we really are going to do equal equity across districts, we have to look into this. Eventually, you're going to get to a point where you have 25 to 28 kids in Cherokee, but then you have Idle Hour on the other side, your homeschool, which is going to have 10, 12, 15. If the class sizes are going, if we redistrict or we rezone, it's not something that we would do lightly, but it's something we should definitely look into.
I have no problem looking into it, but President, didn't you present something to us, to the board last week about the class sizes in each school and where they're at in terms of this year and next year?
Yes, I had the class size enrollment for the elementary buildings, and that was just a projection for next year.
Go ahead, bro.
From those projections, it wasn't at 27, 28, from what I recall seeing.
Here's the problem. You start out with 24 kids. That's what happens in some of the schools. And then by the end of the year, you're at 26 because other kids move to the district or if there's some sort of shifting. Either way, what I'm saying is you can't go off of projections because on the first day of school, the numbers are different than 1 month in and 6 months in. So I think it's definitely something that we should look into. I still think 24 is too high. I think 23 is too high, I think 22 is too high. So I'm just saying, if we're gonna really do that, we were able to bring we weren't able to find money to do smaller class sizes, but we were able to find money to bring the budget down and also add additional administrative positions. I'm not for that.
In fairness, some of the smaller elementary schools did have lower class sizes than some of the bigger ones. Sycamore, Cherokee typically had class sizes ranging in the 20s versus there were classes at some of the other elementary schools in the higher teens, 17, 18, 19.
The schools, well, from K to 3 are 22, correct? That's the cutoff?
Again, using the budget guidelines that were adopted back in January, K through 2, 22. 3 through 5 was at 25. However, we used the number 24 to determine what that class size cutoff was going to be.
And at the last meeting, I asked you guys to adopt 22 or below. I don't even like 22, but I was agreeable to that. I'm not agreeable to 25.
Like 22 from K3 also, but, you know, that's gonna raise the budget again. If we have to bring in some more teachers.
But we're gonna look into adding, we took it off, but we were looking to add another administrative position. And in all fairness, I did a lot of work to say we don't need the top heavy. We need to look into the people that are actually in the classroom with the kids. I don't understand this.
What I can do at the board's request is I can use 22 as that barometer, as that number that we determine what the class sizes are at every grade level. So if the board is so inclined, I'm happy to do that and bring those numbers back to you next week.
Sounds good.
Thank you, Reza, I appreciate it.
Okay. Jackie, this is yours. Regents exams and APPR requirements.
This was in regards to the letter that I believe Sachem and, did you say, Jesse, was Middle Country?
When I had asked, Middle Country was in the process last week in drafting a letter.
So it was the letter that Sachem put out for the Regents exams. I just wanted to piggyback off them. If I have board support, I don't know if I do, in regards to the Regents exam and the APPR requirements, pretty much similar to last year. I don't see a reason why we should do this year. That's just me. I just was in support of sending the letter, if you guys would be interested.
So there's one district that did it, one district that's gonna do it, and none of the other districts have done it, are doing it.
It only just happened recently.
No, Moni, Jesse, can you share what you found out?
I don't know what you would be able to answer this question, and I did ask him in an email. How many kids were qualified to take the test, and how many actually took the test last year?
So, Mylin, if I may offer a response, we are still working on those numbers. We're having a hard time, not with the number of students who tested, but with the wording in your email was about eligibility. So right now we are working with BOCES to help, and eSchool to help us kind of disaggregate the data into a way that is palatable for everybody on the board to really have a clear view of that eligibility factor that we're referring to here.
So, in all fairness, those that were able to take the test, if you had to take
So it depends upon the exam. I can speak from my experience as the director of ELA. Typically, we will run anywhere between 400 and 500 student scans during a typical large-scale testing experience during a typical school year. Last year, we ran 56 because the Regents exam was optional for students.
Ms. Poppy, what do you feel, sorry.
I think that last year was unique. I think that more than ever, teachers and students were up against challenges that were unanticipated and difficult. And so when the opportunity for students to make that choice came at the end of the school year, we were careful to put it in the hands of the child, which is different from New York State. Because typically, the graduation requirement is the successful passage of a battery of Regents exams. But in 2021, again, for the first time, the decision came down to the individual child, which is really a unique situation. So I'm not sure that I'm able to kind of broaden that out into a larger idea about the students who chose to test versus those who chose not to test. I think in many instances, students looked at it as an opportunity to impact their grade point average for the course in a positive way. I think that there are students out there who were seeking a challenge and wanted to show their stuff in terms of taking that exam and felt that, they were up to that challenge in June. And all I can say is that all year long, teachers were headstrong in terms of preparing students to meet the challenges and the rigor of those exams. So whether or not they sat for the exam last June, I know that it's not necessarily a reflection of their collective effort of the school to prepare them to meet the challenge of that exam. It was, again, a unique and very individual situation last year.
So for example, one, it's only New York State school previous students that really look at those previous exams. If we go out of state, do those exams have any impact?
I think we're always careful to say that it is one data point. These data points, however, collectively allow for a student to earn a high school diploma. So collectively, there is an impact. But when you're looking at a student's transcript, I think depending upon the institution and depending upon the institution's location, you could have a different valuation of the child's performance on those exams.
See, now my problem was, like I said, I've been collecting all these articles and I've been researching it, and just this is April 1st, 2022, out of Newsday, COVID hurt students' mental health, CDC, saying that high school students nationwide battled severe mental health issues during the pandemic, including depression, physical and emotional abuse, and suicidal thoughts. I just don't, my thing is with things right now, with kids that, some of them mentally have never had these issues and this anxiety, and I just always feel like when it gets to this time of the year for the testing, I feel like it's added anxiety for a lot of kids. I understand how important it is to teach children accountability and have to be able to study and maintain a grade, and it's part of their job being in school. But the reality is, this year was like, the last 2 years have been like no other. So because it's been that, that's why I brought this forward. It's not something I'm saying, going forward forever. I'm saying this year, we've only just come out of the pandemic, and we're not 100% clear yet, per se. People are still testing, people are still having issues, people are still, sick. And either way, I just felt like kids that are having all these issues, I would rather direct the time on that and take away some of the anxiety, if we could. Again, it was just a letter to them. The state would make that decision regardless.
So,
You were correct in that statement in your email.
okay, I also want to just read something that we received today from the Office of Accountability, where it talks about the New York State Department of Education is accepting stakeholder input on possible modification to the New York State's Accountability Restart Plan for determining school accountability based on results from the 21-22 school year. So I do believe they're looking for input on Regents exams and the like. It does say to seek input from teachers, principals, superintendents, parents, and other stakeholders. New York State Ed Department has developed a survey for possible accountability system modifications for the 21-22 school year, which is the current school year that we're in, and there is a link to this survey page. The survey is accepting responses through 5 p.m. on April 29th. So what I'm going to ask is that this get put on the website for parents and anyone else who wants to participate in the survey, and hopefully we'll have answers related to that shortly.
Perfect, thank you.
So our school district does factor the Regents exam into a student's overall average. There are different iterations of that across the state. Some districts hold Regents exams in a separate line in looking at a child's overall performance in a particular subject area. And this was part of the work that came out of the transcript committee that I believe met in 2018, 2019, if I'm not mistaken. And those Regents exams factor in for 8.4% of the student's overall course average. It is in lieu of a final exam. So if a student is taking a course that is not Regents bearing, that 8.4% would be dedicated to the final exam for that particular course. So what I mentioned before, Mylan, about some students' choice to participate in Regents testing last June being driven by the potential to improve or enhance their overall course average, that's what I was referring to. Right, so if they performed better than their course average for the 4 marking periods, that 8.4% would represent a bump for their overall course grade.
So could it be possible to be an option this year, the Regents, or you don't know that yet? Or is it something you just have to write to the state about?
So in March, the commissioner came out and said that the state would be issuing Regents exams. I will say that it's been an instructional conversation since September in terms of whether or not that was going to happen. And by and large, we have moved forward in terms of preparing students to meet the demands of the assessment, just as we did last year. And so I happened to be at a conference where the commissioner spoke, and she did confirm that the state would be releasing Regents exams. Those statements were followed up by a memo through the state education department that came out last month. And so for all intents and purposes, it seems as if we're moving forward with the offering. We just went ahead and completed our 3 through 8 assessments for ELA last week, and we are prepping for the administration of math assessments, anticipating that they will go ahead and go on as the state had projected this spring.
Just so I have their names. I went to the high school the other day. Oh, this is really loud. I went to the high school the other day to see an assembly for the Holocaust. It was Rabbi Stillerman and Mrs. Edith Gross. She presented her life as a Holocaust survivor, and it was a wonderful presentation. It was very, very, it was really very moving and heartbreaking what she went through from the time she was 16, seeing her siblings not make it back from a crematory, and just many, many other stories that were very, very hard to hear, but I really saw in the audience the kids were really engaged. So many of them got up and asked her so many thoughtful questions. It was really, really, really nice to see. And it seemed like she enjoyed it. It was the first time that she had ever decided to come and speak, and we were the ones who got to welcome her at Connect-Quad, which was very nice. Thank you to Mr. Kassane. He was able to speak to the rabbi and have the rabbi bring her in. What was so great is at the end of the presentation, the rabbi actually tied the whole presentation up by saying that he even tied in bullying by saying, if one of your friends is Jewish or one of your friends is, raise your hand. And people raised their hands if they were Jewish, and then it was if you had friends that were Jewish. And what would you do? Would you get up and speak up for your friend? Everybody's hand went up. It was just so nice to see that the kids really were engaged and learned something that day. And really, it was a wonderful assembly. Thank you to the high school for including the board, allowing us to come, allowing me to come, and thank you to Mr. Kassane for bringing her in. Excellent, excellent presentation.
I'll piggyback on that. OBM has been doing this for a number of years. There's a woman that comes, and I'm not sure if it's the 6th graders. It is the 6th graders. I've been to that a couple of times. I walk out crying. The 6th graders are so engaged. I've never seen 6th graders so engaged in every word she said that they were totally taken back. They listened. They had so many questions. But the best part is when it was over, they went up and they hugged her. There wasn't a time that I wasn't there that I didn't see that emotion coming from the children. So young, and they understood so much. This is a wonderful program, and I think she was there this year again. So between the high school and that program, it's a nice story to tell, and she does a great job sharing it, as I'm sure they do in the high school.
Leeds, they did that too. All the kids that asked questions, they asked to take a picture with her, and they all were giving her a hug. It was very nice to see.
Well, it's nice to see, especially high school kids there. Yeah. The young ones were just wonderful. Anyway, move on to opening day for sports parking. Oh.
And I just want to add that the high school presentation is available to watch on the district YouTube page as well, if anyone is interested.
Do opening.
So, I'm sorry we didn't get the schedule for opening day until some parents had texted me and told me they were going to the baseball game, so I was able to get there, and I ran into Brian. So I was at opening day, we were there too. And I went over to the baseball, they did an excellent job. They won that day, and I'm sorry I didn't make it to some of the other games, but I definitely will. Brian, you want to talk about, were you at an opening day one too?
No, I just went to my daughter's lacrosse game.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know if it was one of the opening games.
No.
Okay. Well, they had a bunch of games going on, and like I said, if I had the schedule, we're gonna get the schedule now. I think Linda actually sent it to us. We can try to make it to a couple games when they're home at the same time. But it was an excellent game, good job by the kids, good job by the coaches. And like I said, it was a nice, opening day is always a fun day. The only thing that I have to say negative is I absolutely hate the fact that we don't have any kind of parking or any kind of, I know John's not here, so he'd be who I'm addressing, but I would like it if you guys could address it with him. We're looking into these bonds, we're looking into all these other things. Why haven't we ever looked into using the dead space and the fields and pave it, rock it, do something?
Yeah,
They have looked
they've
into
looked
that.
into that, and it's
Many
a whole
times.
issue with the homeowners on that side and the room for a road and parking and losing field space. It's been looked into for
Okay,
sure.
well, I think it would be good to at least look and see if there's something they could do for, I understand that they said we could always call security or you could call one of the carts, but I was told by some people that for baseball, some of the parents or grandparents more so aren't able to get there because it's so far away.
They have a minibus that the district provides when they have these games that are parked.
I never seen it, I was there.
Well, maybe it wasn't for that game, but I know when I went last year, they stopped for me. And asked if I wanted to ride.
Well, that may be because it's, my thing is, I would just like to make sure that all grandparents and all older people or handicapped can get to our games. I don't want to see parents or grandparents that can't get there or loved ones because it's so far removed. It's a beautiful field, but I'm just saying it's so far away. It would be nice if they could do something with parking, just something to look into.
Yeah, I know that when the games start, they do provide a bus for back there.
I do know John is aware of it because we discussed this on Thursday. He's just not here to comment on it, but he's looking at other options for us as well.
Perfect, then maybe on Tuesday, could you have that added to him to talk about if he'll be here?
If he's here, I'm sure he can talk about that. I'm not sure if he's going to be here on Tuesday.
Okay. Thank you.
The other thing that I'll quickly bring up is we went with the music department to Hop Hog. I really want to go to LaGuardia in Manhattan. We looked at some of the initiatives that were going on there, and they're pretty excited. And we hopefully after they do their homework and see what they want to do and find a space, that we can bring some of those initiatives back to Connecticut and move the music department along even more. Sure can.
So we went and saw Fame, me and Lee and Marisol with the administration. It was so nice at Hop Hog High School. They're doing really great things over there. They have a broadcasting room that looks like Channel 12 News. They had a classroom turned into like a dance studio. It was really amazing to see kids that maybe are not as interested in some of the other curriculum would be interested in something like the arts and dance and theater. And we already have so much of that here, and the talent is so much here that I think it would be really beneficial bringing that stuff in.
We just one thing about Christina, about Dr. Dewey, and I had mentioned it quickly in the executive session, but it's really supposed to be for this session, that he is coming to both of our middle schools, and if the schools are not, the auditorium is not packed, if it's just at one grade, I'm asking you, as a question, can we invite parents that are home that day if they want to join? Would that be a possibility?
That is certainly a possibility and something that I will explore with both middle school principals.
Okay, thank you. We're off to the consent agenda. And I'm not going to read this speech if there's no one that has any consent agenda questions. Public comment for consent agenda. So does anyone have any comments or questions about the consent agenda? Okay, so if not, we're going to move on to personnel. I call for a motion and a second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented.
As long as that one position is on there.
Huh?
As long as the one added position is not on there. That's part of the budget. Right, I want to pull, is what I'm saying.
There's nothing in there.
I'm saying on the budget.
Okay, then there's one item I want pulled for a separate vote. I forgot to mention which one. Hiring. Never mind, I take that back. Okay, I need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Need a second?
Second.
Any discussion? If not, you approve. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Mylan? Okay. Financial matters, I call for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 7. Motion, I'll motion. I need a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
As long as we don't have that position that you guys said, if that's not on there, that's what I'm saying, because I saw it, Linda had put it, that's why I'm saying, and I'm not finding it now.
So I just texted Dr. Adams and said that we want to pull that for further discussion, and she said okay.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Then I'm a yes.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion so carried. I call for a motion and a second to approve items 2 through 26. Need a motion? I'll motion it. Second?
Second.
Any questions? Go ahead.
So, Mylan, the district is able to, within this year's budget cycle, fund the replacement of our oldest smartboard apparatuses in our classrooms. Our IT team has scoped the work, and this is work that is going to be occurring in different buildings. The money is available to do this. Many of our smart boards, if you remember from Ms. Pullian's presentation to you a few months ago, while we're able to maintain them, they are nearing end of life. And ultimately, we will not be able to purchase the parts that are required to keep them functional. Smart boards have become an integral part of daily instruction. Really, they are the chalkboard of days ago. And so quite frequently, those boards will be on from day's beginning to day's end. So because the funding is available within this year's budget cycle, we have been able to target those boards that are nearing end of life and go ahead and start to replace them within our school buildings. That's a great question. I believe I will have to check in with Mrs. Pulliam. The number 6 years is coming to mind immediately, but I don't want to be incorrect with that figure. And yes, we did purchase a number of boards using those Smart Schools monies, but essentially those boards were purchased, our initial boards were purchased in one fell swoop. And unfortunately, they were purchased without a dedicated replacement cycle and replacement plan. And so what we have is this tremendous number of boards that need quite a bit of attention, and they are collectively nearing end of life. So these monies are set to kind of position us so that we are working with a similar aged board across the district. And beyond that, we will be developing a replacement plan for those boards and a replacement cycle for those boards.
I don't know. Can you repeat that, Marla? No one understood you.
That was part of the consent agenda that you just approved. So that was for Duffield Elementary School. And this was a donation from the Rotary. It is an incentive for students. It's a vending machine that will be filled with books. And students will, and this is a local decision for the building, go ahead and earn gold coins for their efforts. And they'll be able to redeem those coins inside of this vending machine and receive a book for their effort. So it's an interesting idea, certainly an expensive piece of equipment. My understanding is that the Rotary has also agreed to furnish the books that the students will be gaining, which is extraordinarily generous. So would I. So the board approved, this was the Ed Hubler contract that you approved a few meetings ago, and that was the individual who filmed the musical at the high school. As part of his package, he included 25 DVDs, which traditionally have been distributed to students who participate in the play. It was a board decision to move forward with providing and furnishing DVDs for every child who is part of the play. So we went back and forth with the contracted individual. We knew that we would need an additional 50 DVDs to accommodate everybody, and this was his best opportunity.
I know when my son was in plays, we had to pay for anything we wanted extra.
Hey, we have such high-tech equipment now, why can't, that's what I think she's saying, we have such high-tech equipment, could we do something like this rather than spend the money?
But we did approve it. I mean, it was, we talked about this prior.
So I think it's worth noting that, I asked the same question because it seems simple. It seems that the product is somehow protected against doing something of that nature, unfortunately. So next year we can look into exploring other options, maybe providing a link to the performance for a different type of fee, but it is a proprietary in that sense. And so it becomes part of the purchasing package that we are entering into when we contract with that individual.
Just glad you got everybody one. We wanted that, so for that, so yes.
Any other questions on consent agenda items? Okay, so,
So our incredible IT staff did a lengthy vetting process. If you remember back in December when we toured the renovated library and media centers district-wide, it was the board's wish that we go ahead and provide 3D printers for our elementary library media centers. We are blessed in that on our staff, we have a technician who has an expertise in this area. I've learned quite a bit about 3D printers and their capabilities, as well as the functionality in a large-scale use situation like you would have in an elementary building. So there was quite a bit of back and forth in terms of determining the absolute best product, the one that would be most cost-efficient for our schools and our spaces, and would yield the longest user life that is possible. And so the Prusa or the Prusa 3D printer was the equipment that we decided to move forward with for a number of reasons, but that did take some time to vet out. There were obviously competing equipment manufacturers that, we investigated, and we found that this would generate the best yield for our money in our elementary schools. So am I.
okay, let's move on. Oh. All in favor? Aye. Brian? Motion so carried. Okay, before we go into public comment, our attorney has something to share.
Thank you, Madam President. My partner, Gregory Gercio, is the chief negotiator for the school board here in Connecticut, and he was unable to be here this evening, and he had asked me to read a short statement that he had prepared for the board, and I'll do that at this time. I'm Gary Stefanetta, by the way. Unfortunately, I'm unable to attend the board meeting in person tonight as my wife recovers from back surgery. As an alternative, the Board of Education has asked me to provide a brief statement as to the status of negotiations with the CTA from its perspective. Pursuant to the language of the collective bargaining agreement, the parties are authorized to commence negotiations as early as February 1st. However, pursuant to an exchange of correspondence between the CTA president and me, the parties agreed to delay the process during the spring of 2021 as the district addressed its budget considerations. Ultimately, the parties agreed to commence formal negotiations in September 2021, and a first bargaining session was conducted on September 29th, 2021. At that time, proposals were exchanged between the parties. The CTA proposal called for an increase of 2.5% plus increment for each year of the agreement. The cost of increment or step movement is an additional 2.7%. The cost of additional CTA financial proposals proposals that were part of the package was calculated by the district to be in excess of 1% for a total cost of the initial proposals at 6.2%. 1% of payroll in this district equals in excess of $600,000. Thus, the total cost of the CTA proposal for the current school year, the 2021-22 school year, is approximately $3.8 million. This number would repeat and, in fact, increase payroll by in excess of approximately $15 million by the fourth year, a 25% increase over the current payroll. In response to this initial proposal by the CTA, the board met and authorized a salary offer of 0.75% plus increment in each year of the four-year agreement. This initial board proposal would, when added to the cost of increment, total 3.45%, approximately $2.1 million, or in excess of $8 million over the life of the contract. To date, the CTA has not responded to the board's initial offer, which has resulted in the board's decision to declare impasse with the Public Employment Relations Board and have the appointment of a mediator by the Public Employment Relations Board. The CTA has declined to join in the board's request that an outside mediator be appointed and has further declined to join in a request that a mutually acceptable mediator be assigned to assist the parties. Upon appointment, the mediator, which is Thomas Linden, suggested 3 dates on which the first session could occur, first mediation session. Through its NYSED labor relations specialist, the CTA indicated it would not be available until May 3rd, which was the last day suggested by the mediator. In an effort to keep the process moving as to items unrelated to salary while we prepare for the first mediation session, the board suggested a continuation of negotiations as to other proposals made by each side at the outset of bargaining. Via email correspondence dated March 30th, 2022, the CTA president declined to participate in such a session unless salary was also included among the items to be discussed. Since the board has determined not to increase its salary offer while CTA remains committed to its salary proposal of September 2021, the district will be proceeding to mediation on May 3rd. And lastly, I'll just note that at the suggestion of Greg Gercio and at the request of the school board, it's my understanding the school board will be holding a special meeting at which time Greg will be in attendance, and he will provide a further explanation to the board and the community of the status of teacher bargaining, share an analysis of some financial issues that are being addressed in this round of bargaining, including reference to current settlements on Long Island. And of course, everyone's welcome to attend that presentation. My understanding is that the date will be scheduled within the next few days, and that will be put on your website so that everybody is aware of it. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary. If anyone wants to comment, there's some cards back there. Security has them. They might not have gotten them as they came in, but if anyone wants to speak, go see security and get your number. Okay, at this time, I'm going to open the floor for the first comment. Oh, wait, I'm on the wrong section here. Oh, yeah, this is right. I will now open the floor for the open public comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a numbered card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard in the back of the room. Any persons wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and relate to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Individual employees, Parents or children should not be identified by name, title, position, grade, or building. If members of the audience speak out of turn, the board may consider a recess until order is restored. Any specific questions asked will be answered by the appropriate party and posted to our district board docs page, which can be accessed through the district's website. If you have a specific question and would like an email follow-up, please complete the card on the podium with your name and contact information. Once complete, please provide the district clerk. So at this time, we'll start with number 1.
Hi. I really don't have much to say. The meeting was pretty cut and dry. What I like to say is I think in this day and age, we should be pretty thankful for living in the United States of America. I think we've got a great country. We've got work to be done. But if you look around the world, we really need to think to ourselves, this is pretty special. God bless America. Thank you.
Number 2.
Hello, my name is Chrissy Rothmeyer, and I just wanted to talk first about something that you left off of the agenda that happens at the high school.
We're not talking about, if you read, we're not talking about individual employees, parents, or children should not be identified by name,
Nope.
title, position, grade, or building.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I just
Want to
wanted
make
to-
sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that we had a day at the high school called Dante D Day that was put on by our World Language Department
Okay.
and our Italian teachers. And it was a wonderful experience for
know.
all the students, and unfortunately, the board could not make it.
I'm going to apologize, but I had surgery on my arm, so
Yeah,
there's
I'm
a
not-
reason why I wasn't there.
I'm just saying, actually, Christina Poppy was there, and we welcomed you, and, it's just another wonderful thing that the teachers put a lot of effort into, and the students really, really seem to enjoy and have fun with. The other thing I wanted to say is that tomorrow it will be a Seal of Biliteracy ceremony where 80 students, which is the most we've ever had, will receive the Seal of Biliteracy from New York State. And the board is also invited to that event, which will be here at the high school, I believe starting at 7 o'clock, okay?
I'll be there.
Excellent, excellent.
So I think you sent it in today for me. I think you sent it for me today?
Yes, it's tomorrow evening. So I did want to tell you a little story about, I won't name names, but a student did come up to me, and actually she was mature and gracious enough to thank me because this young lady will be getting the seal tomorrow night, and she wanted to thank me by all of the work that I put into and making her the biliterate person that she is today, that she will be graduating high school. And this young lady is 17 years old, and I just thought she had such graciousness and maturity to give credit where credit's due. And I would really like to challenge all of you to do the same when it comes to our teachers in this district. And I heard loud and clear what the lawyer's statement was, and we are here, despite what he has said. We are here. We have shown you that we want to negotiate. We are willing to negotiate, and we really just need you to participate in the other end of that. So thank you. That's all I had to say.
I just want to say something. Yeah. Sorry, this is so loud. I apologize because my daughter came home. She was in that for the Italian.
Oh, okay,
With their
wonderful.
shirts, you guys got shirts made for them and
Yes.
everything, and that was excellent. And my apologies.
No, it was
in
good. It was
creeping
just
on
an
the board.
oversight.
I normally put a whole big list. I've been trying to cut it down, let everybody talk.
Okay, well, thank you.
But thank you, it was excellent.
No
She-
problem.
she-
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank
And
you.
also to the PTA, I'm gonna throw this out there too. The £1 auction for the PTA at Connecticut High School on Friday night was excellent. It was a lot of people in the community, and it was just so nice, but both were excellent. I'm sorry about that.
No, no problem. Thank you.
Number 2, 3.
First off, Gary, I'm sorry you were the messenger tonight. I think Lisa could have read that just as well, but for whatever reason, Greg sent you. Most of what you said, I'm very transparent with my members, as you can hear from their response to you. Okay, everything you read, they already know. Okay, word for word. All right, the bottom line is, as I said at the last meeting, I'll say it again. You can hire every mediator you want. You can hire every fact finder you want. You can do the dog and pony show to the gills. The bottom line is the contract is not going to get settled until you on the other side decide to start talking about money. And you all know up there, you wanted to quote the 2.50 increase. You know darn well you started out at 0. Maybe you didn't know that, but you were sent here tonight to be the spokesperson. You started at 0. When we asked for a number, you told us you refused. The board directed Gercio not to give us a number. So you were starting from 0. You gave us 0.75 after he said he would never meet with us because he was never going to give us a number until he called me 2 days later and said, I have a number for you. He blows a lot of smoke, okay, never follows through on it. But that's besides the point. The bottom line is 0.75 ain't going to get it done. I know 2.50 ain't going to get it done. And until we sit down at a table and you come up and we come down and you take away a couple of your proposals like giving leave days back, taking $7,000 out of teachers' pockets, people literally losing money. Oh, give me the contract. I'll sign it right now. I'm sure they'll all support it. You're taking money, literally. People will make less by signing a contract the way you've proposed it, okay, than they do right now. You're so concerned about the 2.8 million, 8.6 million, all the numbers you threw at us. Why didn't the board think of that when they gave assistant superintendents salary increases up to $192,000? Why was it in the budget 2 years ago for the assistant superintendent for personnel, okay, $165,000, and that same person today is making $192,000, and we've been making $195,000 next year? Why was the business manager that was hired, Barbara Villarreal, who's no longer with us, making $170,000, and now the new business manager is going to be making $195,000 next year?
Not supposed to be talking about names.
You can talk about administrators who are on the payroll getting paid lots of money.
But not names.
Okay? So I didn't mention any names, except Barbara, she's no longer here. I didn't mention Reza Cullifar. I didn't mention Mr. Hauser. Did I? Bottom line is, folks, you know, you don't follow through on what you say. I know, Brian, I'm at 3 minutes. I'll get another 30 seconds in. I know you're concerned about me You know you're concerned about me talking too long tonight, right?
No, I'm just being fair to the community because there are people that live in this community who get 3
Bottom
minutes
line
and you
is,
get 7.
folks, if you're going to talk about saving money, okay, don't put it on the teachers' backs. Maybe put it on some administrators' backs and do the right thing and pay these people what they deserve. Thank you very much.
Tony, Mr. Felicio, we offered to sit down, no, I'm saying this. We offered to sit down with you. Me and Lee specifically.
Jackie, stop.
No, we're allowed to say that, Brian.
Jackie, I wanted to sit down with you folks, okay? And the last message I got back is that you told Greg that you were not going to discuss any of the real important issues, like salary, give-backs, benefits, leave days. They wanted to talk about things that I already said to you you could have.
Well, so you know.
You told your association that we
so
started
you
at zero,
know
and that wasn't
Lee
true.
and I
I can't,
agreed.
Ms. Kennedy, I can't speak to
Okay,
people.
Lee and I agreed
With
to
who?
come to sit down, sit at the table
With who?
with our attorney.
Nobody's told me that. It's
Okay, so I'm telling you, if you tell me yes, I'll tell them to let Greg know. Will you sit at the table with me and Lee and with our
I
attorney?
will sit with anybody. That's up to you guys to decide. That
Will
would be
you
on-
sit at the
I
table
will
with me
sit-
and Lee?
I will sit
If
with
you'll sit at the
anybody.
table with me and Lee, then let's sit at the
If
table.
we're going to have a true negotiation, which includes everything.
But it includes everything.
Includes everything, of course it does. Okay, you give me a time and a date, you can invite the entire board if you'd like, okay, and anyone else you want to bring, okay? If Dad's going to cook some Italian food up first and bring it, I'll be there. I will be there.
All
okay?
right, then I'll talk, we'll talk
But
to Greg.
that's not the
Okay,
mess.
Jackie?
That is not the message that we're being given.
Okay.
Well,
okay,
I'm
thank
telling you the
Tony.
truth, and
Thank
you know
Jackie.
one thing about me, I tell you the truth.
Understood, but you're only one
Okay.
person, and board
I'm
has to
telling you
decide
that we agreed.
You know, you all have my number. You know how I can be reached.
Thank you, thank you.
Jackie, if you're gonna say that, like, we all agreed to meet. It wasn't just you. We just said, as a board, we were willing to be involved. We also said we weren't gonna negotiate in public, and that's kind of what we're doing now. So let's just move on to the
Greg,
next
it's
speaker.
not, not Greg, I'm sorry.
Let's move
Brian,
on.
it's not
Number four,
negotiating in
number four.
public, saying that we
Number-
agreed. The board had to agree. It couldn't be just me and Lee, but we agreed as a board to allow me and Lee to sit at a table. That is not negotiating in public. That is simply giving transparency, which has been a huge problem with ConnectQuad from the minute I got on this board.
Well, then, let me clear up one thing that Tony said, that we came to the CTA with zero, and that wasn't true. So let's move on. Lee, next speaker.
Yeah. And okay, all right, that's semantics. Let's go. Number 4. Wait.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Manzo, and I am currently a second grade teacher at Boston Elementary School. I'm here to speak to you this evening about our contract. When I was hired back in 1997, I truly felt like I had hit the jackpot. My first choice for employment was to become a teacher in the ConnectQuad School District. It truly was a dream come true for me. Not only was I molding young minds, but I was doing something that I truly loved while making a career. I think I speak for all teachers in saying that. As the years went on, the profession changed dramatically. It became more challenging. Students not only needed our help academically, but socially and emotionally as well. Teachers have become confidants, life coaches, and provide hugs as needed. Then we had what was the new state test to deal with. Curriculum started to change again. We had numerous changes in our teacher guides for every subject area as a result of that. With the inception of the Common Core, the next generation of state tests were born. The biggest hurdle of all was the pandemic. I wanted to get a t-shirt that said, "I have never worked harder and accomplished less." It was a very difficult time. There's a point to me telling you all of this. It is through all that, and despite those challenges, that I, along with every colleague that I have behind me, we never gave up, and we always kept our focus in mind, which is the children of this community. Just like we don't have the option of giving up, many other professions don't either. The mail carrier can't just deliver the lightest packages. A veterinarian doesn't only heal animals, they have to deal with euthanasia as well. A contractor can't just build the houses with the best design. There are parts of our jobs, all of our jobs, that are difficult, but that doesn't mean we step away from it. As members of the Board of Education, you have to take all parts of the job, fairly representing all stakeholders in the ConnectQuad community. Unfortunately, negotiating contracts is one of those responsibilities. With that, I am respectfully asking that you please engage with us in the negotiation process so that we can come up with a contract that is fair for everyone in the district. I will leave you with this. Our property values hinge on the quality of your school district, and the school district's quality hinges on the teachers. Thank you for your time.
Number 5.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christy Scarabino. I just want everyone in this room to take notice on the night when we need representation the most. We do not have our superintendent or the lawyer that's supposed to be in charge of these negotiations. Like, I don't understand. These people make the most money. This is where the most of our taxes are. Where are they tonight? I just don't understand.
Number 6.
My name is Jennifer Miller, and I'm a resident of the district. For the last few years, the educators in this building, as well throughout the district, have reinvented education. They have become psychiatrists, social workers, all, by the way, while taking care of their own families. As I sat here tonight and listened to you talk about 3D printers and smart boards and parking spaces and book vending machines and the burning of DVDs, I would like to remind you that none of those things are what teach our children. I would also like to remind you that there is a teacher shortage, not just in this state, but also in the nation. And shame on you if you let one of these educators walk out the door to another district when they absolutely should be paid more.
Number 7. Number 7. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? No? Okay, if no one else would like to speak, I'd like to call for a motion and a second to adjourn the April 5th Board of Ed meeting. Have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion so carried.